everyone, this is Melissa, and I'm the Talkative Introvert. Happy election week, everyone. If you haven't already voted, I hope you can find the time to do that this week. You can drop it off or go in person. Then after this week, we can start moving on because I'm very much over it, if you can't tell from the tone of my voice. I'm mostly over the arguments and social media and all the nasty things people say to each other. I hope that will slow down after the election and we can just move on. I honestly can't wait for this to be over. I don't know if it's just like the era that we live in now with social media and all these like readily available media in general. Unlike when I was younger, that makes me sound old, but I don't know. I feel like it's more so now than it is before how like toxic people are to each other. So I'm over it and I can't wait for this to be over. I can't wait for the election to be over and then it'll be the holidays. It will be Thanksgiving, then Christmas, or whatever holiday you celebrate. And then it'll be my birthday. And hopefully we can get like just a break from all this political talk because I think we need it. Anyways, so today's episode is another introvert episode. I feel like I haven't done one in a while. And that's kind of how I started this podcast, is talking about introverts. So I wanted to bring it back and bring it back to introverts a little bit. We're going to talk about introverts going back to the office. But before we go to that, I want to give a little shout out to someone on Instagram who left a little comment on one of my posts. So shout out to Fam of 3. I believe it's a family Instagram account. So I don't know. He, she, or I guess I'll just go with they. So they left a little comment and I don't know if you're listening, but I wanted to shout out to you because your comment really made my day. My podcast is very new, very small, so I don't really get to hear from listeners. I've gotten a couple DMs, but they don't seem like listeners. I think they're just DMing me because I'm a podcaster and a new one. And honestly, other than from friends and family, I don't really know how other people feel about the podcast and whether they like the content or not. I mean, I did mention that I'm mostly doing this podcast for myself, but it is really nice to hear about others and others enjoying it as well. So I just want to thank you for your comment and I really, really appreciated it. And it really it made my day. So shout out to you guys. All right, on to today's episode. As I mentioned earlier, this episode is going to be about introverts going back to the office. So I did an episode about introverts in the workplace. So if you haven't listened to that, please go check that out. A little backstory. So I do work in the office. Before the pandemic, I worked in an office. So I work in IT. I'm an analyst. I used to be in a cubicle and it's just your basic 9-to-5 computer type work. So that's what I'll be sharing today since that's what I know. So I don't know how people are dealing with going back to a non-office setting, but maybe it's similar. Who knows? Anyways, so before the pandemic, so I used to be in the office building, but then coronavirus happened. So on March 16th, we got a notice that everyone was going to start teleworking. So it was kind of a weird announcement. So on Fridays, we have a managers meeting. Managers and leads all meet up. And we were done with our meeting and we were about to leave the conference room. But then our 2 directors came back in and told everyone to sit down again because they had a really important announcement, which was kind of eerie at first because I was like, oh my God, what's happening? And basically that's just when they announced that I guess there's I don't know if it's a state of emergency, if that's the proper term for it, but basically they got word from their bosses, so the people above them, that everyone needs to pack up their stuff and then start working from home starting the following Monday. So that was a Friday, I think, right? March 16th was a Friday, whatever that Friday was. That's when they announced it. We got our stuff together, and then we basically just went home. We finished out the day, and then we went home and then started working the following Monday. It was kind of, the vibe was weird. I think people were just processing it. It was just, I don't know. It was a weird vibe when we left work because everyone was still kind of processing it. I just came back from vacation and I just heard about the coronavirus. Like, I didn't know that it reached America by the time I got back, until I saw it on the news. And yeah, it was just like this weird, it was a weird Friday afternoon. Like, no one was panicking or anything like that. Everyone like pretty much finished up the rest of their work and then just started packing. And then that was the weird part, was when everyone started packing, because we were bringing our monitors home, we were bringing our computer and our docking station home, and we were cleaning out and like making sure that there wasn't any food left because we didn't know how long we were going to be teleworking. Yeah, because we do, it's kind of gross, but we do have a rat problem, unfortunately. Hopefully no one left a bunch of food in the office, because who knows? It's probably gone by now, I'm sure. I'm sure the rats have eaten it already. But yeah, so that was like the first month we were teleworking, and we just like brought home whatever we needed. And then eventually it kept extending and extending. And it got to the point where like we got to bring home our ergonomic equipment. We went in to like just get our personal stuff that we left behind. And that was weird too, because like you're only allowed to go back to the office if you're going to go collect your personal stuff, but a manager had to be present. You have to wear a mask. You have to practice like social distancing, and eventually it just like kept extending. And people just ended up just bringing their stuff home. And then now we're extended to the rest of the year. So I don't know what January is going to look like, but we will see. I'm hoping we're not going to go back, but because like teleworking has been working just fine. There is no end to production. We haven't had like a whole ton of hiccups. Like, it's been working just fine, honestly. Teleworking has been great. And I actually did talk to other coworkers, and then our department like sent out a survey also just to get a feel of how everyone was feeling about teleworking. So for me and others, we're definitely more productive. I feel like we're finishing more projects, we're doing better analysis, we have better focus, and for me at least, I'm not as burnt out, which is funny because I just told my manager I felt burnt out, but I'm not burnt out from work necessarily, I don't think. I think I'm just burnt out by what's going on in the world. So that's like a different burnt out feeling, I guess. It's not work related. And it's been really great for me, like teleworking, because it's also allowed me to do other stuff, because you don't have to commute to work. So you're saving that time. And I live in a fairly congested area. So even though like on a non-traffic day, it'll take me like maybe 15 minutes to get to work, but like on a regular, like a rush hour day, it can take me a good like 45 minutes to work. And imagine like 45 minutes to work and then 45 minutes home. Like, that's just wasted time that you're just spending in your car guzzling gas, So it has allowed me to do my hobbies. Like, I do a lot of crafting. I started up yoga, and then after yoga, I walk Link. And now that the weather is getting a little better, I'm going to try to walk him during lunch as well, so he gets a little exercise too. It's like really great for me and my dog. And it's been nice because you can actually do like housework too at the same time. Throw a load of laundry in while you're in a meeting, that can just like, or while you're doing work, that's going, and then you could take like a short break and switch out the laundry, and it's definitely been great financially as well. Like, I get gas maybe once a month because I only use my car to like get grocery. And you guys know I'm an introvert, so I'm not going out. Plus, there's a pandemic. There's nowhere to go. So everything's closed. Well, not now. Everything's like kind of slowly opening up. But at the beginning, I didn't go anywhere. And so I was only getting gas like once a month, if that. And my insurance went way down. So if you didn't do this yet, you guys should have done this like way earlier. I think you could still do it. But I called my insurance company and said that I don't drive to work anymore. And so I'm just home and I only use my car to go grocery, which literally is like a mile down the street or maybe 2 miles down the street. And so I told my car insurance company that, and they lowered my insurance way down, like way down. Like I only pay $180 for 6 months. Well, mind you, I have like the bare minimum that you can get in car insurance, and I also have like my car's paid off, and it's a 2008, so it's 12 years old. I think that's fairly old. So if you have a fully paid old car like me and you're teleworking, make sure you tell your insurance company, because then your insurance is going to go way down. And lastly, it allowed me to do this podcast. Quite honestly, if it wasn't for the pandemic, I probably wouldn't do this. I don't know. Maybe I would have eventually, but I definitely wouldn't have as much time to do it. Yeah. So those are like all the pros, and I really love teleworking. I don't really want to go back. But there are some cons, but they're not that bad. And I think there's more cons for other coworkers that I've spoken to. And like the major cons really is just the vendor client communication. So if you're in IT like me, you know there's the vendor and the client. So I'm on the client side, and the thing that I miss, I think, the most is that if I have a simple question, like a very simple question, I can literally just walk up to someone's cubicle and ask them. And I really miss that, because right now we're still setting up instant messenger between the vendor and the client. So like I don't know, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. So we're 8 months in, and we're just now like setting up this, being able to IM each other. So before it was just like emailing each other, and either email or phone calls, but not everyone puts their phone number in their signature line, because not everyone wants to, or share their personal phone number, which I get, because I don't put my personal number either. I put my desk number and then it forwards to my cell phone. So I don't like sharing my personal phone number. I don't want people to have that. So yeah, so that's been a little difficult, but now that we're going to set up like instant messaging, I think that'll be fine. I think we'll get better, and I don't have to worry about that so much. But I have noticed that it does. I don't know if this is true for everybody, but I feel like it's led to more meetings, because I have a meeting every single day. Sometimes I'm in a meeting. I'm in meetings all day, and I don't know the last time I had a day without a meeting. And then we also have a new coworker, so it's kind of difficult to do all the training virtually. Sometimes it's nice to like have them shadow you. And I have like multiple screens that I'm working on too. And like when you're in a meeting, you can only share one screen at a time. So that's been a little difficult, but she seems to be doing okay. So it's not too bad. And then some cons that I've talked to my coworkers about is that they really miss the social aspect, and they miss talking with their friends, and they miss going out to team lunches or with their, colleague friends. And that doesn't bother me that much, but for some coworkers, it's a big deal. And I get it. Like, I guess there's some people who live alone and they miss people. And some people only get their social life through work. A good example is I had this one coworker. He's not from California, so he moved over here and he doesn't have any family here, no friends. And so all of his social interactions happen at work. He's a very social person. Like, he loves talking to people. He loves the social events. He loves when we do group stuff. Like, he loves it. So to just cut that off, I'm sure he's really, really struggling. So I don't work with him anymore, but I'm sure he's really, really struggling. And I'm sure it's affecting his mental health, not being able to see his friends, not being able to socialize with anyone, not being able to like see anyone on a daily basis, especially being such a social person. I really feel for people who are dealing with that right now. But I hope, it gets a little better for them because things are starting to open up. You could go to restaurants now. You could go to the gym now. So hopefully it's getting a little better for those people. And another thing for me is I do miss the work events. So I'm part of the social committee, which I know that sounds funny for an introvert to do, but I really love planning events and I love doing all the social event stuff. And so far we've done 2 virtually and they've both been trivia themed. And we just did our Halloween one. So we did a pumpkin carving contest and a costume contest and a team name contest, like who made up the best team name. So that's been really fun. And it was really great. And it was kind of nice to see everyone. And I don't know, it wasn't too bad. Like, I think what I miss most is the potlucks because I love potlucks. I love when people make their favorite dishes and they share it with everyone and you get to try something new and you get to try other like cultural foods. And I think that's the only thing missing because other than that, the virtual events actually aren't that bad. Like, I think they're fine. I like them. I've liked them so far. It's not too bad. I mean, it does suck because we do random grouping. So when you're in a trivia team, you don't get to pick your teammates. You kind of just randomly get placed into those. It's great because you get to meet other people on the project that you probably would have never talked to. But then it kind of sucks because I kind of want to talk to people who I haven't talked to in a while. So there's pros and cons with that. But so far it's been working. But anyways, so on to like the actual topic. So for my work, and I'm sure for others as well, because I did post this like on Reddit, like, hey, is your office opening up? And I guess some people are talking about it. And so and along with that is our company. So our department is talking about it and our director has asked management to start discussing it with their teams about the new norms, like what is 2021 going to look like for us? Do we want to go back? Do we not want to go back? Is it half and half? Like, how do we want to approach the office post COVID? And so one of the options that they were thinking is a rotation schedule. So half go in on certain days, then switch. So I'll go in like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, then my coworker will go Tuesday, Thursday, and then we'll switch it up every other week. I remember them bringing that up and thinking, what's the point of that? What's the point of doing rotation schedules? If I can do my work at home, why do I need to go into the office and rotate? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, it's an inconvenience for me because I have to have 2 pieces of equipment, right? Like, I would have to have my equipment at home. Like I have 2 monitors and then also have that at the office. Plus I already brought home all my ergonomic equipment. So my office right now, or not my office, but my desk is already set up for me. So like, how are they going to do that in the office? Like, are they going to buy double the equipment? That's just not very cost effective. It doesn't make any sense. And then they were thinking, okay, well then we'll just do hotel cubes. So you only go in if you need to. And that leads to the same question. When would you need to? Like, we've been teleworking this whole time and we never needed to go in other than to just bring something home that we forgot. Like, I had a blanket at work that I wanted to bring home because it's probably super nasty and dusty. But like, other than that, when would you need to go into the office? I mean, we can keep the hotel queues, but also they have to think about also like sanitizing and keeping the office clean. And so they're saying that we can't go into the conference rooms. Like, even if the vaccine comes out, everyone takes the vaccine, whatever, or you take your COVID test and you're clean, blah, blah, blah. You still have to sanitize the hotel cube. So we have to sanitize every single night if we decide to go in. We can't go into conference rooms unless there's some way we are able to distance ourselves. And I was thinking, well, then in that case, why even go in if you could just call in like we've been doing this whole time? Like, just use WebEx or MS Teams or Skype, whatever you're using. So what's the point of going in? And I feel like, say you're in a meeting and your cubicle mate is also in a meeting, but in a different meeting, like, you're just disturbing each other because there's two people talking at the same time and they're next to each other. It doesn't make any sense. So I'm not for going back in. Like, maybe if you want to do like a group project, or like if you want to do a team meeting and meet up like once a week and just do a stand up, sure. Okay, fine. We can do that. But to like do the rotation doesn't make any sense because there's no point, especially if we can't even use the conference rooms and you're just disturbing each other. And then the hotel cubes are the same thing. And I know some people want to go back, and those people should be allowed to go back. Like, if they really want to go back, like, one example is one of my managers, he has his kids at home doing their like Zoom meeting. Then his wife is at home also doing teleconferencing. And so there's like 4 people in one household talking and being in meetings and being, in the same room, like working together. So I understand that, needing to go back to the office. But for him, he's a manager. So he has his own office. It's not like he's in a cubicle. Like, he can close his door. So he gets his own like personal room. So for managers, it works out. And then, I don't know. And then just for the people who just need a place, I guess, a quieter place than home, sure. I guess it makes sense for them to go into the office. But for the rest of us, if we don't have any issues being home and we prefer to be home and we're more productive at home, then I think we should be allowed to just stay home. But that's just my opinion. I don't know. Anyway, so I went to social media, like I said. I'm in a couple of Facebook groups, and I go on Reddit a lot. And so I posed the question to both Reddit and Facebook about what are they doing to prep for going to work, and how do they socially recharge at work. So I'll go through some of the advice that I got, and I'll share that with you guys. Social media is good and bad. There's a lot of bad things about social media, but some of the great things about it is that you can pose a question and people like love to answer them. My phone is going off for another question I asked that will be in a later episode. So the first one I noted was, if your work allows it, do an off shift. What I mean is either do an early shift or do a late shift. And some places will let you do that. So for me, for example, when I was in the office, I did a 7 to 4 with an hour lunch. In my experience, the early shifts tend to be a little better because the early shifts, they're quiet. Not everyone wants to wake up early. Not everyone can do an early shift. I feel like most of the people who do an early shift are introverts also, because we don't ever talk to each other. And it's nice because even when I bump into a coworker, like say in the break room, we tend to also whisper or speak softly in the morning. So there's no loud talkers in the morning. So when I did the 7 to 4 shift, I had that extra like hour or 2 hours of quiet before everyone started trickling in. So that's nice. So if your work allows it, try to do an early shift so you can get that morning like quiet time before the hustle and bustle. And then you can also do a late shift. So if you're not able to do an early shift, you can do a late shift. However, that one's not as nice, I feel like, because people do tend to work overtime. People do start later because they have to like drop off their kids at school or something. Like there's something that prevents them from going to work earlier. And, people like to sleep in too, or people stay late. Like I know some people who stay late because they talk too much and didn't complete their work during work hours. So they have to stay late. And so you do end up with those people. But if you can stay a little later, then you get that little quiet time after work hours. So like if everyone typically goes home at 5 and you go home like at 6 or 7, you get that extra like hour, 2 hours quiet, assuming that people aren't working overtime or the people who do stay late aren't going to talk to you. So I have noticed that early shifts are honestly the best because you truly do get that quiet 2 hours in the morning, and it's really nice. And you get to leave earlier than everybody. So that's great. And you skip traffic. So I loved the morning shift because like I said earlier, I live in a very congested place. But if I can leave early enough, like at 6:30, 6:45, like I can get to work in 15 minutes. It's so nice. However, like after here in Sacramento, after like 3:30, it's rush hour already. It sucks. So I save time in the morning, but I don't necessarily save time in the afternoon. But anyways, yeah. So if you can try to do an off shift, those are honestly the best. Then the other advice I got was eat lunch alone. So this is what most of the people wrote, is that they eat their lunches alone. And I just want to tell you that it is okay to eat at a restaurant by yourself. I actually do that a lot. I love eating at a restaurant by myself. Sometimes when my husband is working like on the weekends, I'll just go and eat breakfast by myself in a restaurant, and I'll bring I'll bring my journal, or I'll bring my laptop. I just bought a new laptop. So I'm doing that now. I have a laptop instead of handwriting it, because it is like getting a little difficult writing in my journal and then like putting it on a document. But anyways, that's a whatever tangent. Sorry. But I love eating at a restaurant by myself, and there's nothing weird about it, and it's totally cool to do it. It's totally okay, and it's totally fine. So I highly suggest, especially to introverts, to eat lunch alone. It's a great time, especially if you're like me and you have an hour break, or even just like half an hour, just to be alone and take a break from all the people at work and from the meetings and all that. And I know sometimes people also bring their work laptop to the restaurant to do some work, just to get away from the office and get away from everyone and refocus. And then they could eat at the same time. And then as long as you don't need internet, or you could even just use the hotspot on your phone. And then it still counts towards your hours, depending if you're hourly or salary. So you're still working, and you're also being more productive. So highly suggest eating lunch alone. I used to do it all the time when I was in the office. It's really nice. It's awesome, honestly, because then I feel so rejuvenated by the time I get back to the office. But for people who bring their lunch to work and don't eat at a restaurant, try to find just a good place to eat your lunch by yourself, like in a quiet place, maybe outside. Like my work, I know there's tables outside, or there's a break room, and you can just eat your lunch at off times. Kind of the same concept as like doing an off shift, but maybe eating earlier or later. Like since I was in an early shift, I ate my lunch earlier. Like I did 11 to 12 instead of a 12 to 1 that people usually do. Or even later, a 1 to 2, or, what have you. Then that way, you have less traffic in the break room, and then you can go eat lunch there. Or I have noticed a coworker do this once, but he used to eat his lunch in his car, and then he would listen to a podcast or music, and he purposely parked really far away. So everyone, like tends to park closer to the office, so it's a shorter walk, but he purposely parks farthest away so that he can go and eat his lunch in his car. And I was like, man, that is genius, because I usually just park as close as possible to the office. It's a short walk. But that gives him a little quiet time as he walks to his car and then eats his lunch and does whatever he wants to do in his car. And honestly, the only reason why I noticed this was because I was like on a walk. And I was like, why is he parked so far away? And then that's when I realized that he eats his lunch in his car. And that's pretty smart too. I've never done it, but if I ever had to, I'll know to park far away. Another advice I got was take breaks alone. Get up and leave the office and go for a walk. So you know how people always suggest to get up every hour to take a break from looking at your computer and just to stretch? Well, maybe just go on a quick 5-minute walk around the office by yourself. And then another advice I got was block out focus time in your schedule. So this is really important, both teleworking and when you're in the office, honestly, because people will snatch up that time if they see that you're free. So setting up focus time. So setting up your calendar, like your Outlook calendar, to block out time so people can't reserve a meeting with you during that time. That way, that is your time. That is your time to focus. That is your time to do your work and not be in a meeting collaborating with people. It's really just your alone time to do what you need to do to get work done. That one I feel like is really important. This next advice is something that I do regularly, but I always have headphones on. So if your work allows it, most definitely bring headphones to work. So use it during your focus time, use it while you're on break, while you're walking, while you're working, while in lunch, because then, people tend to not bother you when you have headphones on too. It's pretty nice. My mistake though is that I bought these wireless earbuds, which I absolutely love, but people don't know that you have headphones on when you have the earbuds. And so I think if we ever go back to the office, I'm probably going to buy some over-the-head headphones so people know that I have headphones on. Because really, people do not bother you as much, I've noticed, because I ended up making a sign. So I made a desk sign so that when I have my headphones on, I put my sign up and I'll say, headphones are on, please tap on my shoulder or something like that. Because sometimes people will start talking to me, but I don't realize it because I have my headphones on. And then they'll go Melissa, are you listening? And they'll tap in my shoulder and then they'll freak me out because I didn't know they were even there to begin with. And then I have to explain oh, sorry, I had my headphones on. What did you say? So yeah, highly suggest maybe getting over the headphones if you are going back to the office. All right, this is the last advice that I got. And it's the last one because I also feel like it is the most important one. And that is to speak up for yourself, because you are your biggest advocate. And I know that this may be hard for some shy people or for some anxious people, and I get that, but you shouldn't be scared to tell people you need time alone. So it's okay to say no to lunches, and it's okay to say no to group outings, and there's always a nice way to say everything. Because if you don't speak up for yourself, then you're going to get burnt out. You're going to feel obligated to do these things. And then you're going to get socially drained. And then you're not going to be able to focus. You're not going to be able to do your work properly. And then by the time you get home, you're just going to be so exhausted that you can't do anything else. So make sure you speak up for yourself when you need the time to be alone to do your work. Because you're at work to do work. But yeah, there's always a nice way to say something. If someone invites you to go have lunch with them, just thank them, say thanks for the invite, but I just have a lot of work to do that needs to get done today. Let people know if you need to make a deadline, or even just let people know, be honest, like, I'm really exhausted from all these meetings and I need some time to collect my thoughts, or I need some time to refocus. You can always tell them, rain check, I'll catch you guys in the next one, the next outing. And you can also just talk to your manager about it. If you have a nice and understanding manager, I'm very fortunate to have a nice and understanding manager. Just explain that you are an introvert. Explain that you do your best work in silence, or you do your best work alone, or explain that too much collaboration isn't always beneficial. It doesn't always help. Sometimes you need to just step away, recollect your thoughts, and recollect like what you guys discussed during the meetings so that you can be better prepared to execute the job. So there's always nice ways to say things, like there's always nice ways to explain to people why you need alone time, why you need to recharge, why you need to take this break alone, or why you need to, do a rain check and not go to lunch with everybody today. It's totally okay to tell people that you're tired, that you're exhausted, that you need this time for yourself. So that is the most important advice, is to speak up for yourself. And I hope that you do, and I hope that you can practice that. And I hope that when you guys go back into the office, some of this advice I got from social media can be helpful for you and helpful to get you through the rest of your day. So yeah, that is all I got from Reddit and Facebook. I'm sure I probably got more since the recording of this episode. As much as I hate social media, sometimes it is nice to be part of these groups, especially the introvert groups. And there's so many of them. There's so many Facebook introvert groups, and people tend to be pretty nice on there. They tend to give good advice, and they tend to be pretty, what's the word? Not so toxic. Not like a political group. So if you have questions, I highly suggest posting something like on a Facebook group page, or even on a subreddit. There's the Introverts subreddit. There's a subreddit for every like MBTI personality as well. Like I am part of like the INTJ subreddit. So those are good too. People are pretty quick to comment and give you advice, and sometimes they're really great advice. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you found something useful from this episode. I am not excited to go back to the office, as I'm sure maybe most of you aren't as either. Best of luck for when that ever happens. And best of luck also to it hopefully never happening. Hopefully your company will decide that teleworking really is the best thing for everyone. Or at least give you the options. I hope they at least give you options. And if you have some advice, please let me know on social media. I am on Instagram and Facebook. I also started to do transcripts. So if you go on my website, thetalkativeintrovertpodcast.com, in the blog/transcripts section, I am starting to do transcripts of all my episodes. I feel kind of dumb for not doing this earlier, because we're already on, is this 24? I think this is 24. And so now I'm going back and doing the transcripts for all 24 episodes. So I will try as fast as possible to get those out, because the great thing about the website as well is that you can also comment on there too. So if you want to comment on previous episodes, please feel free to do it. Like if you don't want to go back to an Instagram post and comment on something, the website is there, the transcripts are there, and they have the title is the same as the episode title, and I put the episode number and everything. So if you want to like make a comment, please go check out the website and leave a comment. Let me know if you like the episode, if you don't like the episode. Sometimes I ask questions within the episode. Feel free to answer those in the comments. Like, I would love to hear from you guys. Please go check that out. All right. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoy the show and want to stay in the know, please follow me on social media. Like I said earlier, I am on Facebook, on Instagram. Check out the website at thetalkativeintrovertpodcast.com. All the information will be on the website as well as in the show notes. Please help support the show by rating and reviewing it on Apple Podcasts. If you leave a review, I'll make sure to feature it in the show. Thanks so much, guys, and I'll talk to you in the next episode.